Alrighty, we'll get started. And anybody who comes in late, they can join us. Alrighty. They don't want to hear you crying, mister. Okay, so welcome. I'm so happy you guys are all here, and anybody that's watching the recording. Just make sure you have your workbook kind of handy so you can kind of go through the questions as I go through them with you. And then I just want to let you a little bit about myself for those who don't know me or we haven't connected in a while. So my name is Chelsea Dinner, and I am very excited to share this workshop with you guys today. This is content and material that literally changed my life 3 years ago. So I am so blessed and grateful that I get to share it now with all these amazing other people and moms and families. So I am a mom of 3. I'm a holistic health, mindset, and birth coach. I'm a doTERRA wellness advocate and a yoga teacher who specializes in pre and postnatal yoga. I am a doula and a birth advocate. And I absolutely love supporting women from pre-pregnancy to motherhood and beyond. And I have found that there are so many gaps actually in the infertility, birthing, and motherhood space. So I've created a lot of things that have made my life easier for navigating those stages of life. And for anybody who is not yet a mom and is wondering about this information and all that stuff, you're in the right place. We connected for a reason. There's something in this workshop that you're going to hear today that is going to really make you start to make some changes or really kind of get those different thoughts going on in your mind and be able to start creating some different results for yourself for sure. Because like I said, it's for literally all stages. I just love teaching to moms because this is where I really found the impact for this work in my life. So I'm going to tell you about an idea that had, like I said, had this massive impact on my life. And I know that sounds kind of dramatic. Oh, little man, Mama's trying to teach. Okay, we'll see if he's hungry. And I know there is so much help here that is going to serve me beyond just my family. And I know that there's so many other moms and parents and families that are going to benefit from this information as well. So if there's anyone who's ever kind of had those families or people in their life that is just like, oh, everything good just keeps working out for them. And then we have some other people that are like, oh, they just kind of always get the short end of the stick. That is no accident. And I want to show you how you can become that kind of person, that mom that kind of has that feeling like everything is like you have it all together. And then because we know how we do one thing is how we do all things, this material will literally seep into every area of your life and your home and your family, friends, health, bank account, business, you name it. It will transform all of these areas, which is kind of the coolest part. So let me start and kind of set the tone. So I'll give you a little bit of my backstory and acknowledgements for some big factors that made me who I am so that you can kind of see how this work has helped me evolve over the years. And many clients within our community as well have had very similar stories or kind of completely different stories, but there's always been a growth and a journey through this process, which is kind of the coolest part because we get to learn lots of information about ourselves, which is something we're not taught in schools and universities, like that kind of thing. We're not taught about us and how things work out for us, or how we learn information, how we take it in, and how we actually use the amazing abilities of our mind and our body and all of that to our benefit, because we're just taught about like subjects or education or things along those lines, instead of who we are and understanding more about ourselves. So then with that, we need to also understand that there's no blame in either what we were taught, the teachers we had, the parents, like there's no blame there, because we understand this information and we have to realize that our parents, our teachers, all of that was coming from a place of that level of awareness that they understood, because we don't know the things until we actually learn them. And then once we learn them, then we can start kind of growing that awareness and be aware and notice when things are coming in, because that ultimately like ignites a change. Like something isn't working well in our life. Okay, now how can we change it? Because now you've noticed it and you're aware of it. And then you can kind of go forward from there. So like I said, my job here is to raise your awareness, and this is all where it starts. So a little bit about me and kind of my backstory. I was a go-getter. I wasn't always getting the results I wanted. And before I really started diving into this work and studying my mind and growing my awareness, I worked as a welder at General Dynamics. It was not really my ideal job, so I started finding other ways to generate income for me and my family. So I received my yoga teacher training, and then I kind of had this strong desire while I was pregnant with my first son to really start working with other moms. So I became a pre and postnatal yoga teacher. But I was still feeling that there was some unanswered questions, and I was still kind of wondering, why do I feel so unhappy? My life was in a constant state of go, 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 push harder, go faster. This was kind of our life before having kids. And then it kind of just carried in through early part of motherhood. So when I was exposed to this material for the first time through this free course that my friend and coach had offered, it couldn't have come at a better time. At that time in my life, I was in a state of complete overwhelm. There was lots of anxious feelings, lots of postpartum depression going on, and it was so many things would come up through the day of being home with my son, and then getting to that point where it'd be like, okay, my husband was coming home now and everything else, that it just felt like there was something missing through it all. And I knew at that time my birth had something to do with it, but I didn't know that was fully kind of what was going on and the trauma that I was feeling with that. And then with the times as it went on with my relationship with my husband, it kind of got to the point that we stopped communicating, and there were just so many things throughout our days that we would do, and just wouldn't talk, or he didn't talk. He didn't know how I was feeling. It was just kind of a like walking on eggshells type of feeling, and it didn't feel good for me. I know I was then radiating that energy onto my newborn, and definitely there were some issues with our relationship. So I knew if I was going to keep this process that I had, or thinking that was going on inside my body and my mind, I knew things were going to go down a road that I really didn't want for them to go, I guess. So I knew some changes had to happen. And just with all of the things and juggling all of life, it just seemed so hard, and it seemed like a struggle. And I knew life was not meant to feel like that. I knew there had to be something else. There had to be answers. I had been around so many people. I was running an essential oil business, so I was around people that were successful, and yes, people can seem happy on the outside because I was completely that person. I would put a smile on my face, even though I was not happy inside at all. And I just had this constant tug and these feelings like, I know I'm meant for more. I just didn't know what that meant or where to start. And just that, yeah, constant state of anxiety, which then would turn into like shopping because I'm like, oh, that'll fill a void. And then you get the credit card statement, and then there's just this constant circle of this like feeling. And I don't know if anyone is resonating with this, but it's just a feeling that doesn't feel good. And life is not meant to feel like that. I didn't feel in control of my life at all. It felt like it was just kind of running by me, and I had no way to like slow it down or to stop or to take a breath some days. Like it just felt so heavy and all of the things. So through all of that, it just I kept telling myself it'll get better when my business is doing well, or it'll get better when my son is napping through the day, and then I will have more time, and then all of these things. And it never got there because in the moment I was not seeing the gratitude for the life that I was living, because like in hindsight I can look back on that now and see where the things were that were not working well. And where this is all kind of coming from, and that stuck feeling, it's coming from like circumstances, people. Usually it's yourself that is telling yourself to hold yourself back from whatever it is because of fear or whatever the case may be. And through all of this, I was doing all of the things. I'm like, I'm gonna up level myself, I'm gonna do all the courses, read all the books, go to all these different seminars. And I don't know if anybody else is doing all the same things, and just feeling like it's not working. Like it should work because I'm doing it all, but it's just not. And then I would go back to school, take more trainings. And like I said, I had a complete career shift because I'm like, I just need to get out of welding because that's going to make it better. And it's just crazy that we have these thoughts. And then until I started diving into this work and understanding my mind is truly what it came down to. It was November 2020, and I made the decision to start diving into this work. And I went ahead and took the step to work with my coach. And I could not believe how much the first training that I took changed my life. And then what it started to do once I was exposed to this material and learning and studying it every single day and learning more about me. Finally, I was learning about me and not all these other topics in the world that I could learn about. I was able to then learn for me and learn the stuff that I needed to know about myself so that I could then help my kids, my husband, because when I knew things about myself, then I was able to serve from a different place. So how I began to parent, communicate with my husband, and what I really started doing was shifting my thinking and shifting my thoughts. And then when I would, like, because I was so excited with this work, I would get out of bed in the morning and I was so pumped. I was not letting my son be my alarm clock anymore because it was usually him coming in to wake me up. I was waking up on my own and doing my own work before he would get up. And then I could serve from a much, much better place. And our mornings were smoother, and like they still are. Like I'm still doing the same routine, even now with this little guy. And for the first time back in 2020, I could finally feel that control being taken back from myself and being able to control the things that I had control over. So my thinking, my actions, my words, my conversations, who I was spending my time with. First time I was able to actually control those things and how I was feeling inside my body. I stopped worrying about the things that I could not control and not focus so much on those. And then I began to dive into this material even deeper. And now I'm a coach, like I said in the beginning. And now I get to serve and help so many other women and families. And then to take that impact even deeper, because I'm very driven by the impact of the work that I do and get to share with others, is now I get to alter, and I hate the word alter, but like change the next generation coming, which is so crazy because I've seen the results in my own kids, and now I get to help other moms with their kids, and then generation after generation. So it's just crazy that we are doing this work and we can break these cycles of things that maybe our parents showed us when we were kids, and now we want to kind of raise our kids a little bit different, and then so on, and it just goes down the line. My point here is that you're here for a reason, and you've attracted this message in for me to share it with you, and I'm honored because this material, like I said, is brilliant and it is life-changing. So my intention here is to wake you up to the beautiful opportunity that you have inside of you. You have unlimited potential, and I'm going to teach you how to use your mind and elevate every area of your life and to get what you truly desire. So grab your workbooks if you're able to, or go through the questions kind of after the fact. Everyone will get the recording, so don't, make sure you're not worried about missing something. But just kind of go through the questions quickly and then dive into them a little bit deeper once we're done the workshop today. So I want you to write down the date 6 months from now. So what are we? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. Or October. Yeah. So what is one thing you want to achieve this year? And like I said, go into more details after the workshop, and then really get into the answers of what your body and your heart are truly saying, and your mind. What is one thing you want to change this year? And then on a scale of 1 to 10, so 1 being far and 10 being close, how close would you say you are to achieving that goal? So these 2 questions I want to start off with because they get you thinking about where you want to go, a goal, and then you put a time frame on it. So sometimes we can let our kids hold us back from setting or reaching a goal, but in reality, they are kind of our biggest driver and our biggest reason why we're doing something to shift our life and to shift our thinking and our results. So just don't let them hold you back. Don't let your biggest driver be your biggest excuse, because that can be so easy in this work. And I 100% have used that as a reason to not do this work of, I'm tired, I'm all the things from raising 3 kids. And when I stop to step back and be like, but they're the reason why I'm doing this, to shift our life and to be able to have a different lifestyle than what we're currently living, and have the things that we're meant to have, and not even just in the fact of material things, but just have experiences and all that stuff, and being able to send our kids to a homeschool pot. Like, there's so many things, and I was letting them be the excuse for me not showing up and me not doing the work that I needed to do within myself in order to be the person to show up in all the areas of my life. So just really kind of hold on to that thought as you're going through those questions. So when I talk about this and understanding what all this means, because this might be the first time you've ever heard some of this information, and it might sound really confusing and overwhelming, which is completely normal. So I just want to chat about what master your mindset really is, and how we can understand the universal law, because we understand that thoughts in our mind are things, and the law of attraction is a real thing. We think about something, we put it out there to the universe, and it actually becomes a real thing. So before we dive into that, I want to start with a quote from my mentor, Bob Proctor. The only limits we have are the ones that you put on yourself. So my goal here is to get you kind of out of this box that you've put yourself in. And over the next 40-ish minutes, we're going to talk about mastering your mindset. so that we can become the best wife, mom, business leader, whatever it is for your kids and for all areas of your life. And it's all going to come with ease and flow. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm living proof that things can become easy and flow and all of that. I'm just going to put little man down in his bassinet. Okay, so I want you to get centered and honest with yourself for a moment and ask yourself some more amazing questions. And like I said, all this is in the workbook. I'll go through these kind of quickly, but definitely take some time after and really put some thought into what it is that you're hoping for. So do you have a really clear goal? And then what you want for your life and for your family? Can you see yourself reaching that goal, or is it kind of fuzzy? Do you have your goal written down? Do you know what needs to be done to get there? And are you willing to do what it takes to reach that goal? And what about money? That's a big one for many moms and families that I work with. How do you feel about money? Because as a mom, this one can be very tricky to navigate, especially if you're kind of like the main spender in the house. And that can cause lots of tension in a relationship with your partner or spouse. And then what is the most amount of money that you've ever earned in a year? How much money do you want to make? Is money a driver for you, or is there something else? Kind of like I said, like money is nice, especially to have that financial goal. But the driver for me is definitely the impact that I'm going to have on so many families throughout the world. And then do you have a plan on how you're going to get to that point? So these questions are meant for you to get real with yourself and to reflect on where you are. Most people think they just need a goal, but in reality, you need to know the goal and where you currently are. It's like driving to Toronto. This is kind of a great analogy of the goal is to get to Toronto. Well, right now you're in your driveway. So you know you need to turn left or right to get out your driveway to start on your path to Toronto. You don't need to know every road on how to get to Toronto. You can use your GPS and it will tell you where to turn. So the GPS in this example is the universe, God, source, creation, whatever your higher power is. And they are communicating with you via your intuition. So if you don't know where you are going, aka your goal, you will become lost and continue to be lost. If your current beliefs don't match that of the goal, then you will continue to spin your wheels. If you don't think that you are worthy of getting to Toronto, let's say, then you will pull over and stop driving too soon. So where you are going, and then you can build your belief system that matches exactly where you're going. So beliefs plus action equals results. We'll dive deeper into this today throughout our training. So I want you to kind of like figure out, maybe you've heard some of this information before, maybe not, but just know that on a subconscious level, you're going to get everything that you desired and everything that you've had experience on have been attracted to you for a reason. So even the crazy experiences in your life, know that you attracted those in. And the reason that we have maybe not reached our goal is twofold. So there is a gap between what you know to do and how you're showing up and what you're actually doing. And your current belief system is not in alignment with what you want, which is also holding you back. So it's either always one of these two things, or you would literally have everything you wanted in your life, business, family, and everything kind of in between. Does that make sense? So then you need to understand that life is 5% strategy and 95% mindset, which is crazy because most people think strategically you will do this, this, and this, and this, and you'll get here. But it's actually reversed. 95% of it is mindset. And the results have been proven when it has come to mastering the mindset and creating the beliefs and the results that you want. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how to get there, and it can be easy. And believe that, because you will always get what you believe. So if you believe that I'm full of crap, then you're going to get that too. And this is why I ask that you get connected with your inner truth and begin to create that vision for what you want in your life, your family, and all of the areas. Business, if you're growing a business. We have to start here, because if you don't know where you are going, then what the heck is the point of going through life, right? If you have no idea why you're here, then you're just kind of on autopilot, right? And to start, we have to kind of start at a point, because if we don't know where we're going, then we're going to stay in this place and the magic will not happen. And just remember that you're only one decision away from your dreams every single time. Like, there's a story on this, and it was about somebody who was digging for gold. And they dug for gold, they tried and tried and tried, and then they stopped because they're like, there's no gold here. And then somebody else came in, started digging in the same spot, and went further because they had the belief they knew the gold was there. And where that person stopped, he was 3 feet away from the gold. So it's just such a good analogy, because our brain or our mind works in pictures, that we can like visualize someone being so close to a goal and stopping. And this is what happens in life constantly to so many people. So I want to tell you the truth about you as a human. So the truth is that you have infinite potential and that you are here for a reason. And trust that you have attracted this message in for a reason, and you've attracted me in for a reason. And trust that we are all designed to live at our highest potential. We are designed to create and be great. And trust that you are not meant to struggle, settle, or to not live an abundant life. This is literally what we were created to do. Like the universe, God, source, like we were created to live on our highest potential. That's why most people don't use all of our abilities within us. We don't even know they're available. And like I said, the universal laws have been around for forever, and they are meant for us to be in alignment and work with them instead of against them. But yet we just keep working against them. But with living an abundant life, you can say, but Chelsea, living an abundant life costs money, and raising kids, that all costs money. And I'm here to say, yes, it does. I'm also here to say that money is everywhere, because it is just energy. So you first have to think like the mom or the woman who earns the money that you're desiring. to live the incredible life, whatever that might look like to you, because everybody wants something different. And when you do, you understand that money is a magnifier. So it makes you a better version of what you already are. Easy, right? For those of you who are debating if this is true, I'm here to tell you that up until yesterday, I thought the same thing. I did not believe that that was possible. I did not believe that people could be kind when they were rich, right? But it honestly, if you're a kind person, regardless of how much money you have, having more money is not going to change the way you are, because it's who you are, right? So I believed in hard work and more hard work and spending time with my kids during my time to work on my business and not being fully present with them. I thought that was normal. I thought that's how other people did it. And like I said, I thought if I worked all the hours, I could control my results. I did not think that I attracted in my results. So needless to say, this was a huge learning for me as a recovering control freak, because that I am responsible for everything, like I said, that has happened in my life, the good, the bad. I have attracted in everything. But I have also learned that when you know better, you can now do better. So as a human, we are in control of how we think, feel, and act. And therefore, this determines the results that we get. And we are meant to thrive, and we're meant to raise thriving children, because if we're thriving, that's just setting up the example that they can do the same thing in their life. So honestly, it comes down to you leading by example in all areas. It doesn't matter if it's in your home, in your workplace, like wherever you are in your life. If you lead by example, everyone around you gets to benefit, because it's this like power. Yes, we can't see it. It's this power that we have because we are leading our life, because we're in alignment. All the things just keep lining up, right? And it's not an accident that those things keep lining up when you're working with infinite source and your higher power and all the things, because you're in alignment with those. And instead of telling ourselves all the stories and keep telling ourselves the stories because they've been implanted in our subconscious mind from the time that we were young, these stories were repeated and repeated, and we adopted them as being true, even though they were not. A majority of humans are not thriving because they don't realize that they have all of this power and potential. We think we have to get it from outside circumstances. Like if you're looking for a relationship, looking for starting a family, like there's so many things that we look for outside. If I hang around this person, they will give me the energy, or coffee. The coffee will give me the energy. The energy is within us. It's just an enjoyment to have a coffee. So like we can't rely on outside sources to determine how we feel or react or what we believe, right? So an intro to the mind and how it works. Now, before we go too much further, I want to acknowledge that when I say the mind, I'm actually not talking about the brain. Your mind is actually in every cell of your body. So I always kind of point here, but it's like every cell of your body is what your mind is kind of made up of. And for simplicity, let's say that we only have two parts, although we know there is so much more than that. So the conscious and the subconscious. So the conscious mind collects the information, and our subconscious mind is what determines our behavior. So this is the paradigm, and this is actually controlling everything we do. And we'll talk more on that in just a sec. So everything or everyone is thinking from one part. So let's say we've got two parts, just like on the screen. So we're thinking from one part, we're actually doing from the other. And this is where this massive disconnect comes from, because the results don't match up. And we can tell a person based on their results if there's a big disconnect in that person, we can see it within their results. And it is the results that make people so frustrated, because we think we're doing all the things, but yet nothing is happening. And our children don't actually have a conscious mind until around the age of 8 or so. Their mind is wide open. So just imagine that circle being kind of the top being taken off. And so everything that they're exposed to and that they're around directly goes into their subconscious mind. So this is not, again, not to have blame if you're like, oh my God, I've yelled at my child and blah, like freaking out over all the things you've done in the past. Let that go. You know better now, so you can do better in the future, right? So just think of somebody who is always late for things. We know all these people. Maybe you are that person. So we know that where they're going, they know that. They know what time they have to be there, but yet they're still late. So we can come up with all the excuses and alibis. Our kids wouldn't get their shoes on. I got stuck by a train. I had to stop and get my coffee. So there is a disconnect between what they know to do and what they're actually doing. So we see this so much in parenting. This is constant reminders daily in my house. Relationships, work, business, etc., all the time, which is why this work has become aligned and the awareness is so important, especially when we are raising this next generation and tiny humans. So an introduction, if paradigm is kind of like a whole new word for you, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction to it. So like I said, let's take the lid off. Let's pretend we are a child of a 7 and 8 year old, or from 0 to 8 usually. Now we just have the subconscious, and here is where it all starts. So think of yourself, that new baby coming into the world, no preconceived thoughts about anything. And then think of yourself now. Why do we love the foods that we eat? Because somewhere in our family tree, someone decided to keep exposing us to that. And then it's just goes down the line through the generations. It's the same way with our habits, fears, and the way we show up. And all of this is ingrained in our mind in the first 7 to 8 years. And as I mentioned, it can be even earlier. It starts from birth and all the way. So your environment is more important than heredity. So even if somebody was birthed and created by someone else, but raised by different parents, their environment is going to be what truly brings all of this information in over the cells and the creation of the makeup of that baby when they are being created. Because we are literally not programmed until we get here. So this programming of habit is called your paradigm. So my name is Rita. Her name is Rita. And it can be called many things, but ultimately it's a series of habits that you have and stories that you tell yourself based on your own perception of a circumstance. Because we were so young when this was formed, your perception is coming from such young eyes with little experience. So you know that what you're actually thinking at this time is coming from such a young mind in a way. You were just a sponge taking it all in, and it was going directly into that subconscious mind. So just think about how much we and outside circumstances become ingrained into our children and us at that age. And it's, like I said, it's not to blame, but it's to bring awareness to it and be able to notice when it's happening. So now yourself, 20, 30, 40 years later, you've ingrained these habits into your subconscious, and you've asked the universe over and over and over again for evidence that it is true, even though all of these stories are not true. Our paradigm is like a thermostat, so it is controlling the temperature of our lives. It is programmed at such a young age, and then it is set for the majority of our life. Because of all of those stories that we have been programmed in, the things we saw as children all go through into our adulthood, and then it just stays like that. They don't change unless you actually go through and do a paradigm shift. So this is why most people are not doing what they actually want. They are actually acting as our parents or grandparents did, but we are in a completely different time. And this is not about blaming the people who might have raised you. It is just about being and doing the best you can now with your current level of awareness. Because our parents did what they could with their level of awareness, right? Because if you don't know better, you can't do better. So when it comes to money specifically, this is a big one. Do not settle. Poverty is a stressor that our bodies do not need, and you deserve to have abundance in your life. So anything less is a paradigm. So picture what your child would rather experience. Happy parents, not stressing about money or finances and other things in life, or stressed out parents, always stressed and never really present with them. I know what I experience and what I now give to my kids, and 100%, they just want your attention and they want like time with you, right? They don't want you half present on your phone and all this stuff. So it's just things to be aware of, and definitely ways we can change our thoughts. But unfortunately, the majority of humans are letting all of these stories they've been given run their lives. So think of all the stories that you have been told as a child. I'm sure you can finish my sentences. Money doesn't grow on. If you don't have an education, you can't. Money is the root of all. If you don't have any business experience, you can't. Are these true? No. The truth is that we are universe, God, source, highest creation, and science is showing us that our brain is, the way it is designed, is like no other species on the planet. We literally have limitless potential. So let's dissect these stories that were programmed for us to believe. Let's take the first one. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, if money were trees, that means that money only comes in paper form. Money isn't bills, it is energy, just like everything else on the planet. So it may not grow on trees, but it will come where it is welcome. So how you feel about it is how it will come. Thinking about money will bring more to you. And not just wishing, there's a difference between those. So you see, you can read all the books, take all the courses, and I did. But if you don't get to the root of the issue, which is the disconnect between the conscious and the subconscious mind, then you will never, ever be able to change that habit. And as we get older, this gap actually becomes bigger, because what you know to do and what you're actually doing gets bigger, and it is frustrating because we seem to know more in the conscious mind, but we do less and have no idea why. I was doing things I didn't want to do and getting results that I didn't want to get, but I did them anyways. Rita is very controlling. And knowing is not enough. Knowing doesn't get you the results. You have to change the programming. So you have to give your paradigm, in my case, give Rita a new look and feel. If we are open and honest about our paradigm, we will stop trying to get different results by doing the same thing over and over and over again, because that is the definition of insanity. So ask yourself, what are your stories? Are they true? Not likely. but someone told you at some point in your early life that they were, and the law of attraction kicked in, and what you focused on, energy flowed to. And you saw evidence that it was true, and guess what you found? Evidence that it was true, even though it was not, and you always will. I believed that if I were making good money in my job, that it would bring me happiness, even though I didn't love the work that I was doing. I was getting a completely false belief because I was staying in this job that I didn't like and knew it was not the work that was going to give me this result that I was looking for. And I was cutting off that flow of abundance that I was meant to receive. So just think, what are your stories about the life that you desire to live? You will always find evidence and attract what you focus on. What are your beliefs? Your mind is always trying to prove you right. And if you believe that you can't afford things for your family, even though you know how you want to live, and then that's exactly what you're going to get, right? You're going to get that I can't afford this, or you're going to get more situations that come up where you need to actually spend the money, even though you're telling yourself, I don't have the money. And if you believe that your product is too expensive, you will attract in people that will keep giving you that objection. And if you believe that that you have to work harder to get what you want, you're wrong. The harder you try, the bigger the gap. And if you believe if you had more time, you'd get better results. The fact is, we all have the same amount of time, and it's how effective you are in that time. And if you believe, if she can do it, I can do it. But that's not entirely true, because we are all working with different belief systems. Now let's dive into the law of attraction and vibration, because it is the driving force and how all of this content material comes together. There is a number of universal laws, but it's one of the laws, which is the law of all laws, that is specifically states that everything is in motion and nothing rests. We are all energy feeding off one another. There's a documentary and book called The Secret that explains all of this so beautifully. So just like I know how gravity exists, if I was to drop a pencil, I know it's going to fall in my hand. I don't have a pencil with me. I also know that thoughts are things. So if I can hold it in my mind, I know I can hold it in my hand. And I know that everything that ever was and has already been created. And if it's already here in one form or another, all it needs to be is someone to think that thought and for it to turn into form, right? We can think of this like the internet. It was always here. It had to become a thought in somebody's mind for them to actually go through, take action, and figure out how it was going to work. And airplanes, same thing. We didn't know we could fly until someone created the first airplane. And the truth is that many laws are governed by the universe, and the key is to live in harmony with them, not against them. So for all of us who are now thinking, I should just quit while I'm ahead, I want to let you in on one of the other laws. It is called, and that you can live in harmony with. It is called the law of opposites. And it states that everything has an opposite. So up, down, in, out, hot, cold. And the nice part is there's an opposite to the stories that you've been telling yourself, and that we have been giving energy and life to for years. It just takes a decision. And you get to decide, are you ready to rewrite your story? The law of attraction is rooted in decision. That's the trigger. It's the beginning domino. Nothing happens until a definite decision is made. And it takes this first definite decision about your desire to start the ball rolling, and it will dictate what you attract in. So just picture a 2,000-piece puzzle. First, you put it together by deciding to open the box, and then you look at the front cover. So this is your goal, the front cover of the puzzle box. And then you start with the first piece while focusing on the box cover. The more you get done, the more confident you will have to actually finish the puzzle. So your goal is just like the puzzle, and you've been collecting pieces your entire life. It wants you just as much as you want it. The truth is, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, meaning you were born to have whatever it is that you want and what you are truly here meant to receive. And you are the only one that is holding yourself back from that. You were made to be so much more than just a mom or just a wife or just a whatever your career is. And even if you're a stay-at-home mama as well. So fast forward to when I made the decision to do the work and I tapped into my belief system and I gave it a makeover. And that is when it all changed. I tripled my income and Craig and I's relationship changed dramatically. And I became a more present mama. We won trips. I started speaking at events. My network marketing business is in a complete flow. And I attracted in leaders that I was dreaming about for so long, but I told myself that they will never come. We made purchases that we told ourselves, or that before we would have told ourselves were too expensive. And I 100% fully invested in myself by becoming a mindset coach. So I can now serve families far beyond my own. I finally feel exactly like I dreamed of, which is true joy and happiness. And my opportunities are constantly flowing in. Since diving into this work, I found my purpose by guiding and supporting future mamas, birthing mamas, mamas in motherhood space. And I know I haven't even scratched the surface yet for what is to come. My activities didn't change. What did change was my mindset. I learned that life is 95% mindset and 5% strategy. So I don't talk a lot about strategy in life because it is not what is going to get you the results. But we are going to dive in more about mindset. And I don't say all this to impress you, but to impress upon you that this work works. And it can work for every situation that could be imaginable, right? And I was so hard on myself. And I had so many excuses and blame as to why I wasn't getting the results. And this work gave me results. It was simple, not easy, but simple. And I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you. I'm a completely open book and I only lead with honesty. And that is the best part about this. When you grow and you do all of this, not only you benefit, but your kids benefit and all of the people around you. And they get to steep in your tea. And this is why I knew I had to share this with so many other people. Let's talk about desire. So humans are goal seekers, and the real purpose of a goal is to grow. So it's not actually to get the thing that you think it is. It's to allow you to grow in the process of receiving something that you thought was never imaginable. And that is the growth that you're going to get, because when you get to this goal, you're just going to keep going, right? And it's just constant growth, and that gap starts to shrink because you now know what it takes to get to that point because you're constantly growing. So the real purpose, like I said, is to grow. You have to go after something you want, even if you have no idea how you're going to get it. That is kind of the whole point of this. If you know how to get a goal, it's the wrong goal. Like if you know, okay, I'm going to do this, 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 and this, because that's how we're trained, right? Literal thinking, using strategy, do this, this, and this, I'll get to that point and I'll get to that lifestyle that I've always been dreaming of. So it may be a job, a career change, or an energy that you just want to create in your own home, or a rank in your company. It may be a relationship goal or an amount of money. In fact, I recommend that everyone has some kind of a money goal, since that is the form that we earn for goods and services for an exchange. And you also have to understand what your deeper reason is behind what it is that you want, whether that's money, whatever that is. You really have to figure out why you want that, because that's going to be the biggest part, and that is going to pull you through all of this work when you tell yourself it's too hard. But ultimately, you have to find that one thing that you want more than anything. So there's going to be so many things that you want in your life, but it's finding that one thing that you want more than all the rest. Because usually when we go for that bigger thing that we're like, oh, there's no way I could, and you don't believe you could achieve it, that is the thing that's going to let all of those little things just figure themselves out and fall into alignment. So think of a baby who is just starting to walk. So they fall, they trip, they get bumps, yet they do not give up. And if you're like my youngest son, you are constantly running into things, bumping his head, and we love essential oils, so I use helichrysum all the time. And that has just become a part of what he smells like, because he is just constantly, he's our wild child. So kids are our greatest teacher. They never give up, because when they're learning something new, they just keep learning it until they master it. And we see this constantly with, let's read the same book over and over and over again. Let's keep counting. Let's do our alphabets. When they're learning new things, they just do this repetition. And we have lost kind of sight of that, because repetition is how we get that into our subconscious mind, right? Is doing things over and over and over again. So when we do the things we don't want over and over and over again, this is what happens, is that repetition gets in, even though it's a negative thing that we don't want. We just keep telling the universe that. Anyways, I get off on tangents a lot. But kids are our greatest teacher, and we can see so many examples when they are around us constantly. So at some point in your life, you stopped getting back up when you were knocked down. So if time and money weren't a thing, what is it that you truly want? So I want you to ask yourself that, go through the workbook. If you don't have the workbook, write it on a piece of paper. And I want you to journal about your desires. Like I said, take a few minutes when we're done and go through it and figure out what it is. Research all the things, what it is that you want. Figure out, like, get details, specific size, color, money, like what does it cost? And then for that money goal that you have, I want you to add a 0 on the end of that, because I know everyone always, I was the same way. I'm like, oh, an extra like $1,000 a month would be nice and stuff, but it's like, the life that you truly want to live, will you be able to live that with just an extra $1,000, let's say? Or do you need $10,000 a month? Or do you need 20, 30, 40, like it's endless for the amount of, not things that you want, because that's not necessarily always what you want to be shooting for. If it's material things don't speak to you. But if it's experiences, trips, travel, like things you want to do, like think of it all. What does that lifestyle look like that you want to be living? And if you're like, I have no idea, then really dive deep and think about, okay, what is the opposite? If you're in a place where you're like, I'm not happy with my current lifestyle, what is the opposite of what you're currently doing? Because obviously this doesn't feel good right now for you. So flip it. What is the opposite of that? and then kind of create, and you like tap into your imagination and start using it to just figure out like, what is it that I really want to be focused on, right? Because when we're focused on something, like I said, when we have that path, we get to kind of quiet all of the emotions and the everything that's going on in our mind when we have something to focus on. And we don't have something to focus on, we don't have something like that kind of target, it just gets lost in all of the busyness and the chaos of life, and we say yes to things that don't align with us, and we say no to things, to an incredible opportunity that we really wanted to do, but we say it out of fear or an excuse or whatever, right? So with this process, I want you to dream big. What is it that you want? And really ask yourself that. So when I was asked this question for the first time, I had no idea how to answer it. I could tell you everything I didn't want, but actually thinking about what I wanted for myself, my family, and how I wanted my life to look seemed so far away. It seemed unattainable, but it's not. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. So if you had a choice or a chance to look through and go through your goals that you wrote down, or maybe that you have in your mind, write them down. And I want you to ask, how do you feel about them? Are you inspired by them? Are you willing to die for them? That sounds crazy, but remember, we are all living to work towards something. And then we are all going to die in this lifetime. So what do you want looking back on your life when you're kind of at that point of your life is now ending? What is it that you want to look back on? Are you going to have a bunch of regrets, right? Like, if you can do the things now that are not going to give you those regrets at the end of your life. And it's not necessarily talking about a job, could be a relationship, playing small, health issues, anxiety, feeling constantly overwhelmed by your kids or your life. And then, what do you believe your wants? Do you believe that you can have them? Or do you believe that they're so far away? So draw a line in the sand and decide that moving forward, you will only say things that you want to happen. When you believe what you believe to be true is going to be your truth. Whatever thoughts you think are going to become and turn into your reality, right? So really think about that when you go into that negative headspace and it happens. And again, don't blame yourself for that happening. Just be like, nope, switch it. What is a positive thought to flip this? A lot of the time it is like criticizing yourself, criticizing other people. So it's just like flip that thought into 3 things you love about that person, or 3 things you love about yourself. And then same thing when we have that negative thought about like, oh, I can't do that. Like, and I've heard my children say this because they've heard it from me or my husband or somebody close to them, is I can't. And they just go into this like state of fear because they think they can't. So it's just constantly allowing them and giving them that motivation by myself saying I can do it, or just doing something, and they get to see that example of like, I can do it, I have the confidence to do this. And that is a big thing, especially when we are raising tiny humans. But I want you to ask yourself, how do you feel about your current situation? So if you could wave that magic wand, what would you change? Your paradigms and habits will always try and pull you back and are actually controlling you 98% of the time. So what you are focusing on and what do you want? And are you focusing on what you don't want? Are you emotionally attached to the wrong idea? Because you will just keep getting more of that. Does your current behavior reflect your goals? This is called the knowing doing gap. And this is the gap between what we know to do and what we are actually doing. And it is It's not that we don't know what to do. It's that we don't actually do it. Or we say we're going to do it and then we don't. And it goes back to the way we do one thing is how we do all things, right? So if we say in this area, I'm not going to do that. And then in the next area, you end up kind of pulling that same belief into it. And you're just like, oh, what's the use now? I'm just not going to do it. And it's not that, yes, it's not that we know what to do, it's how we do it. And this goes for many households. You want to clean house, but the kids just keep messing it up. So you just stop cleaning because then it's just easier. The kids are just going to keep getting the toys out and you just don't have to clean them. And it can go for anything, business, real estate, car sales, all the things, right? Our paradigm will help us and enforce us to make these alibis and excuses. So how are those working out for you, right? We just keep telling ourselves the same things in our head. So my challenge to you, take action, go through the workbook. If you're watching the replay, go through on some lined paper if you didn't get the workbook and just write out the questions that we go through here. I want you to meditate, relax, get connected to your truth. This is super, super important. Is like tapping into what it is that you actually want and build that desire list. So while asking yourself these questions, what else do I want? And what is holding me back from achieving it? So I know we just covered a ton of information, but I want you to take it all in, pull out of it what really stuck out to you, what resonated with you, and then go from there. And we will definitely connect. I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And make sure that you're following along in all the places on social media so you can keep kind of following this material. And I want you to book a call with me. I will make sure you get the call link. It was probably in the email, but I will definitely send out another one. Hang on, buddy. And I want you guys to go through this, right? It's your life and you are only one thought away from having that life. And I know that seems so simple, and I'm here to tell you it is that simple, and it can be, right? So I will be connecting with you. I want you guys to have a wonderful day, and I'm so excited to hear about what it is that you come up with on your workbook and your questions. But take care, and I will be chatting with you soon.